Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to Planet Marzipan, the Fish and Marillion podcast. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Hello, welcome to Planet Marzipan. I am Mezza. I'm here with my good friend.
Craig.
We have returning guests. If you've heard part one, great. You'll be expecting these names, and if you haven't, go and listen to that first. What are you doing here? We welcome back Mike Barton.
Hello.
Hello, Georgina Wistow.
Hello.
Hello, Martin Jakubski.
Good evening.
Good evening.
McCormac.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, in our review of 2024, we are up to July. And in July, Martin, you played rather a special gig, didn't you, at the beginning of July?
Very, very privileged to be part of the last night of the Prague Festival in Lorelei in Germany, or certainly the last one that was going to take place at Lorelei. I think there are plans to have the festival somewhere else, but it's been at Lorelei for a long time. I think since sometime in the 90s. Am I right in saying that?
I think it's 24 years.
Yeah, under that banner anyway.
Under the banner,
I think
yeah.
it was. Yeah, and we, the SRB, were the second from the top of the bill on the final evening of the final one. So yeah, that was very, very special.
You beat the rain, didn't you? Didn't Mr. Hackey get soaked?
We did. No, it was Big Train.
Sorry, got
Yeah,
soaked.
they had the big rain.
Yeah, they had big rain. They did have the big. We were really lucky because the rain stayed away for our entire set. In fact, there was, while we were there at the weekend, there was a genuine threat that they may have to, because of the severe weather warnings that they had, that they may have to evacuate the site. And we'd all been given this kind of briefing on it to say that if this happens, this is what we need to do. So there was a whole plan in place, an evacuation plan for it. But thankfully, it stayed away. The weather was glorious when we were there, Mike, wasn't it? It was
Superb.
beautiful. And we finished a set and came off, and just during the changeover between us and Big Train, the heavens opened. And when I say they opened, they properly opened. It was tipping it down. Hey ho, that's the way it goes.
No gig, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm gonna give Martin a shout out on this because he won't himself. But final straw, Martin stood at the end of the catwalk, the stage area, and just let it go into how he does it in his Bruce Dickinson-esque version of Final Straw was just amazing.
Thank you. I was encouraged that there's an ego ramp at Lorelei, and I was egged on throughout the day to say at some point you've got to go down the ego ramp. And anybody that knows me knows that it's not really me, you know.
It's not your thing.
It's not really my thing. But I was encouraged and egged on to do it. So I thought when we were doing the last straw, I'll go down for the end section of the last straw, which went very well, and people seem to enjoy on it.
Plus screaming fans.
Yeah, the reaction we got was quite overwhelming actually, and that so many people were there to watch our set. I'm reliably informed that during our set was the point over the weekend where there was the most concentrated people watching the stage during that point. So that's a really nice compliment that so many people wanted to see us do what we were doing. But it was unbelievable, the atmosphere.
Iconic place for Marillion as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the thing about the Lorelei setting is, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, is that it's backstage is exactly the same as what you see on the 87 Lorelei concert video, because it's a
even the hobby caravan still there.
a World Heritage site, so that you're not allowed to change anything. So it's the same porta cabins and the little hut where you get your your catering and your drinks. So it's quite unique in that regard. But yeah, unbelievable, incredible day.
And it was brilliant. But I would have loved to have been there. In July, we also had Marillion streaming weekend on the Space. Who was that? That was organised by a fan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Craig. Yeah,
Not me.
Craig Elston, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So there were themed sets, I think, that Tim pulled together to stream on the Space. The idea being that you could have another sort of lockdown type weekend, and I didn't do it myself, but I've heard some great feedback about the sets and they're still up there. When we interviewed Tim the other week, the sets are still up there. So
yeah, the curated sets are still available there. Yeah.
So if you didn't see that, go and have a visit on the Space. And we've talked a lot about the Space in last month, including our video episode with Tim, haven't we?
Yeah, which was good fun.
Great
It's
episode.
available on YouTube and it's available on Spotify as well. So it's up there.
Always a good episode when you've got Tim on.
Good value. Didn't do any poetry though.
Next time.
Steve Rothery's episode of That Pedal Show was released in July as well.
Yeah.
For you tech and musician nerds.
And it had absolutely loads of views.
Yeah, I would also point out as well that you don't need to be a guitarist or a musician to actually enjoy that, because although Steve talks about his gear, he talks about a whole load of other stuff as well. So it's a good interview just with him, talking about all aspects of his career and if you are a musician or a gear aficionado, then well, it's going to be it's going to be heaven. But well worth a watch. I mean, most of the stuff went right over my head, but I really enjoyed watching it. It was an engaging watch.
Absolutely, yeah. He plays some solos as well, doesn't he? And
he does indeed.
Good, yeah. It's a really good episode. Still there on YouTube if you want to catch up with that.
You can't go past July without my own particular win, which was that I managed to get us 6 months before our usual let's scrabble together and see what merch we're going to do for Port Zealand. We managed to get everybody together and start talking about what do we want to do and what are our ideas and how are we going to start engage. And we engaged with the supplier, and that was quite a big win, because what normally happens is Mark Kennedy and I scrabbling around trying to get things signed off. And you'll remember from Tim Sidwell's episode that, we included him in a conversation, I think, at the beginning of February 2023 about him putting together the XXI DVD.
Yes. Because
that was the point at which I said, we haven't got a DVD to sell this year. What about doing a best of for the 21st anniversary? And then it was like, right, someone get Tim, see if he can join this call and ask him if he can do it. So as a result of that, we have got we've not gone as far as I would do, because I'm not a normal music industry person. I'm a business person, and so I would have it all sorted by now. But we're much further forward than I think we've ever been, to the fact that I've actually physically got merch in my hands.
Under your bed.
Well done.
Yeah, and our first T-shirt stuff is going off. So we've got quantities, decisions on colours and designs going off to the printers this week. So that was my big thing for July. Now, something happened in July, and then I don't think we talked about it again until November. But we at least got enough that I could start talking to the supplier about availability and quantities and stuff. So I don't think I've ever been more excited about our the things that we've designed this year, because real thought and quite a lot of time's gone into them. So if anyone's coming to Port Zealand, I'd start saving up, because there's some great stuff.
Georgina, you're talking my language. It's merch porn.
Look at you, you're so excited, aren't you?
I'm not
Helena's going
just
to be on
rubbing
the
my knees. I'm rubbing my shoulders
rubbing
and
your
everything.
t-shirt. Yeah, Helena's going to be on the phone to me going, "Don't you be chatting up my husband." I heard you flirting with him about printers.
Well, what we should do, John, since we know fine well they've shot the award for all the physical media releases like Blu-rays and stuff. What we should do is we should do a compilation together of all of our episodes on video onto a Blu-ray. We'll knock it out at the back of the shed.
Oh, dear. For all the insomniacs out there, is that? Jesus.
That'll send them off.
The masochists, yeah.
John,
You
that's
need,
the
you need
title.
to you need
For
to
all
put
the
a
insomniacs out
special
there.
special edition out and say the stuff that was too hot for broadcast.
Oh dear God!
Get all on
that
that.
shit.
Yeah, then I've said this before that they needed like the Duran Duran videos where they used to do a day version and a night version.
Yeah.
It's like Tiz was in OTT.
All
old
the
enough to
footage
remember
you
that?
never knew you needed, yeah.
Georgia, I just want to know, can I place my order now? Can I just give you my credit card?
Yeah, just give us your credit card and I'll pass you a bag.
Thanks very much.
Just take an empty suitcase, folks, because you'll be paying excess baggage coming home.
That's why I'm driving. I knew I was driving for a reason.
You can take my merch back then. I'll
Yeah.
put it. Where was I? That was July. Warner's repressed, Misplaced, Clutching, and Brave again for the deluxe boxing.
Umpteenth time for Misplaced and that. You'd think, considering how expensive it is to do these micro releases, they could have just gone, oh, let's because they're going to end up having to repress it again in a couple of years' time. So they should have just done a decent amount and just so it could have actually got the price down.
I suspect there'll be pressure for to do a repress of it or a reprint of it next year, considering it's his 40th anniversary. There'll be renewed interest in it again. For people that haven't picked up a copy yet, I suspect there'll be demand for another run of however many, and they'll sell out as
And
well.
John will still buy another copy.
Oh yeah.
You won't. You won't. Who the hell hasn't got it now? Who's not got Misplaced that's listening to this?
Well, come on, Mark. Don't we know that we all want just like script? We want a super deluxe, don't we?
Mark knows the extra content for the 40th anniversary box set.
Yeah,
the
demos. Yeah, that have been released. Yeah, so we'll see.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
you didn't hear it first here, folks.
Yeah,
won't hold us to that.
There's a weird cynicism, isn't there, around the box sets? Around they only press so many of them because obviously the record companies don't have the faith in fans that we know they should have. But then the fans get really arsy about the fact that they're adding more to them.
Yes.
And that, and that's I find that quite cynical because it's almost like if you're a fan, you would think
want it to be out there.
Yeah, and that you want other people to be able to enjoy it and have it, and this kind of like, I want something exclusive and it's just for me.
I agree entirely. I don't like the pissing contest about,
Yeah. I don't have an issue with them they can repress it as many times as they like. I think I've got a theory that the reason that Misplaced keeps getting repressed is people latch onto the box sets part way through the run, so they're collectors and they want everything.
They want them all.
So that's why Misplaced keeps getting reissued. That's my theory. I've got no problem. You can put it on catalog all the time. It's a really good remix. The Steve Wilson remix is great. The live show is brilliant. It should be available all the time.
Yeah,
and if anybody's got their fast finger out at the minute, and there's not many of them still available, but they are all the deluxes are in the HMV sale at the minute. And you can get even things like holidays and all the rest of it for 20 quid for the deluxe version with the CD and Blu-ray, and the vinyls are quite cheap. So if they're still in stock,
don't tell people that there'll be an uproar that some pay £59.
Worth pointing out, folks, that we're recording on the 17th of December and you're hearing this on the 31st. So that's not available anymore. Send your emails to chris@panicmag.
I didn't realise you were going to tell people it's not actually New Year's Eve. I'm going method by drinking an entire bottle
yeah.
of wine. So I progressively get more drunk.
Yeah, I'm going to go and first foot some people after this. They don't know I'm coming, but I'm going to go and do it anyway.
By the time
I'm
it finished,
hoping
I
we
was
get
covered in
a
coal.
I think we should do a live
Get a 10-minute
one
break.
at 1 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of January. Up for that?
Do
Surely
you know
we're
what?
having a 10-minute
That could be
break.
quite dangerous.
Well, if you decided to do that, you have to remember that for the last, I don't know, 27 years, I've spent New Year's Eve with Lucy. So you'll get Lucy at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that will be
box
quite
office.
interesting.
George, that's box office. You know that.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
The thing is with Lucy, as everyone knows, she famously doesn't drink alcohol. So that's how she is without alcohol in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's great, and we love her, and you as well. So
We
please,
went to a silent disco recently at St Albans Cathedral, and we met these women just while we were queuing up, I think, to go to the loo or something. And one of the women was literally just couldn't believe that Lucy's like energy and fun and stuff comes without a single bit of alcohol. She was like, "So you don't drink at all? I mean, there's nothing."
but you've
Oh,
said
this is all
after she has had a drink, haven't you?
I have. She's one of my, because if for people who don't ever drink and never have drunk, you know, one drink is always quite fun. So yeah, she's one of my favourite ever drunk.
In August, Marillion launched their rebooted retro T-shirt shop, which I think was Mr. Kennedy's work, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So shipped and manufactured from the Netherlands, which bless them, they had a bit of problem with postage and stuff like that, which they got hammered out as best they could. But there's not a lot you can do because of bloody Brexit.
No.
It's a political
A really
correspondent.
nice T-shirt.
Yeah,
It's nice to have that whole variety on what's available. People didn't go and read the small print, which was quite clear and very explicit on what it entailed, that it wasn't being run by Marillion, being run by M&E. And I think for to get that level, that amount of variety is superb. Not many bands are doing that.
No, I think the thing is, well, the kind of backlash that kind of came with that, I think some people lost sight of the fact that they don't have to do this. They don't have to make these, older T-shirt styles available. You like you say, other bands don't do it and say, "Oh, you missed out on that T-shirt for 20 years ago. Well, here's an opportunity for you to have one now. It'll cost you a wee bit more, but you can have it." To me, I had the opposite in my head. I'm thinking that's brilliant that people can buy whatever T-shirt that they never picked up on a tour or whatever, and they've got an opportunity to buy it. And it is a bit more costly, but you've got to balance that against the fact that you've got the opportunity to buy something that in any other circumstances you'd be looking for one on eBay, which might be washed out.
But equally, the postage rate wasn't that extortionate because coming from Holland is expensive. But if you bought more than one, it was still the same price on postage. You could buy, I think it was 10 T-shirts before the price went up. So I know there were some people that went in with other people and said, "Well, our loads are all 6 and we'll divvy it up between us."
So the thing is, I mean, you say people didn't read the small print. People don't read the print. If I walked it naked across Port Zealand with the rest of the Marillion crew, holding a letter of it the size of me, people wouldn't read it because, people don't. And then it's very hard for them to accept the reality of the fact that they've made a choice without playing with a full deck. And so then they have to push that outwards. They know.
I think we should try a controlled experiment of what you've just said to just test that theory, George.
It's going to be a bit cold in March.
I myself will be busy But I think we can all name members of the crew who would be quite happy to walk across. I once got
We did
added.
that in the early hours of
I
the morning.
once got added to the crew WhatsApp group by Rich because he thought I would need to know some stuff, and I have never left a WhatsApp group faster.
Okay. I don't know how to follow
No.
that. September.
No, August.
August.
What,
The Fish
I don't think
remastered
that-
started shipping in August.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we talked about that in part 1, didn't we?
Oh, the July releases.
The July
Yes, the
20
July
releases.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They shipped in August.
Well, we should. I mean, we should talk about them, shouldn't
And
we?
that was ballsed up as well, the shipping.
Well, when they
Yeah,
went
it
to
was.
the store, you could only order them separately.
Yes.
You had to pay separate for postage on each item. And I don't think he sorted it straight away, did he? I think
No, it took a while. I mean, in the end, it was. I did feel for Simone. An email came out saying, "Well, you can cancel your order, and we'll give you a refund. It'll take, 30 working days for your refund, and we've already sold out of some of the things you want." So it was a bit of suck it up.
Yeah. That's the negatives.
Yeah. But what fine box sets they are.
Thank you.
They're absolutely gorgeous.
They really are.
I mean, we did a whole episode on these boxes, and it was one of our most listened to episodes of the year, I have to say. Not in the Mr. Jakubski's category.
After Martins.
Don't start that again.
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking gold standard here.
Oh.
For crying out loud, don't you get in on this? I'll never hear the end of it.
But I think people were I mean, people either had got them and wanted to hear us chatting about them, or were genuinely intrigued as to what the quality was like. But they're absolutely sterling. I mean, they're jam-packed full of stuff.
But you won't know what the quality's like, John. You haven't even taken the bloody cellophane.
Right, we've discussed this. All right, the
He's
cellophane
put it in.
is on all but one side.
He's
Come
putting it in
on,
his time capsule along with
yeah,
the,
with the
the transatlantic
program.
stuff.
You're quite lascivious about the way you do that.
Yeah, is it wrong that I'm quite excited by just watching John doing that?
It's all in the wrist action.
I'm not
It's definitely a
describing what
visual
I'm doing,
episode.
listeners. You can just imagine.
It's such a stonking album.
Yeah.
That then to have the kind of exceptional extras with it, is just a joy, because it is. I mean, when I first met Lucy, back a million years ago, I hadn't bought Vigil. He was still working at EMI, and we met for a drink, and I say a drink for her to have a can of Coke and me to have an actual drink one Friday night. And she brought me Vigil out of the EMI promo things, and she was like, "You have to listen to this because it's just such a great album." Yeah. And I took it straight home into the CD player, and it just was on constant rotation. And it's still an album that I go back to in its entirety.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I don't think it's ever been out of the car since it came out. Well, I had it in cassette and vinyl at the time, and we've moved on a wee bit from then. But it's always been there. I think the remix or remaster, correct me, whichever way around it is, on it. I think they did a really good job on it, because I spent quite a lot of time listening to it, because obviously for some of the gigs that we were doing this year, we were doing some of the Vigil stuff. And it was really interesting because I noticed quite a lot of things that hadn't been there in the original mix. So they did a really, really nice job on it, and I think the new version of the album, I think it sounds absolutely glorious.
We talked about it a lot. I think it's got more of a live sound to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they dialed back a wee bit on the, I'd hate to say it, that typical kind of late 80s kind of production where everything was kind of drowned in effects. And I don't know, I love the original mix of Vigil. I've got no problem with it, but I think the new mix of it is, I think the songs shine a wee bit more in places, and some of the musicianship is a lot clearer on it, because you can pick out what people are playing on it. I think they may have used in a couple of places slightly different vocal takes as well, because I certainly heard some things and I went, I'm sure that's not exactly how that line is on the original mix. So it was really, really interesting. A great package, as you say. Like, the amount of stuff that's on it's brilliant.
So Mark, I was going to say, what do you think of it, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Exactly what Martin said. You can hear stuff that couldn't hear before, and I love the original as well. But fantastic.
No, I think it's a shame that, because I bet your bottom dollar between you and the rest of the guys, there's a wealth of material that could have been added onto it if he'd actually contacted you.
Well, I contacted him and told him, and but there was nothing forthcoming. So I was working through Mark Wilkinson. I think I told you that before. I sent a load of stuff to be used, but they didn't use it in the end. So what can you do?
Well, Vigil, we've talked about it. It's a fantastic box, but also the remix of Internal Exile probably lifted the album more than Vigil.
Yeah, I think as a remix, the Internal Exile outshines the Vigil remix. I think the restructuring of the songs and into a different running order and stuff just works brilliantly, and it's a fantastic package.
It is.
Did everyone like the new running order or not?
I do. I wasn't expecting to, but I like the new running order.
I think the original running order's so ingrained for me. Yeah. Every time I put the new version on, it still kind of slightly catches me out.
It jars a little bit if you
suddenly go, oh, that's right, I forgot they've reordered it again. But it does sound great. The job on it again is brilliant. And I know Internal Exile is an album that is not universally loved by people. I'm one of the people who genuinely really, really loved the album when it came out. I understand why it's divisive, and I can understand why it probably wasn't a great commercial success. The way I always describe Exile is that it's a great collection of songs, but they don't quite hang together as an album. That's the only way I can describe it, because the songs themselves are really, really good on it. And the lyrical content on it's brilliant. I think he was in rare form when he wrote the stuff for that. But I love it, and I really like the new version as well.
But to put with Poet's Moon and Carnival Man in the track listing as well, just fleshes the whole thing out. They're both great B-sides.
Poet's Moon is an incredible track. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
But I think in recent Fish on Fridays, he's made quite a lot of put quite a lot of emphasis on the fact that once stock is gone, it's gone. These things won't ever be repressed. So if you've not picked them up and you plan to pick them up on tour,
get them while you can.
Get them while you can, yeah.
Provided they arrive from Germany and Holland.
Stop it. And those surround mix fans, the 6 of them that listen to this, it's just stunning, guys. You know that. But they're brilliant, and they're probably the highlight of the Fish news for this year. Well, maybe not. Maybe the tour, but we'll come on to that very, very shortly. In September, 2 significant things. Marillion announced the This Strange Engine remix box set, and Fish began tour rehearsals for Road to the Isles. Should we talk about TSE in November when it came out?
Yeah, we'll do that in November.
So Fish went down to Birmingham for tour rehearsals, I understand. Couple of weeks before the tour started. The tour began on the 2nd of October in Luxembourg. Mark, I think we talked about it in the first half. So you were at the Berlin show, were you?
Yeah, he just got halfway through Vigil, the first song, and the sound just went boom. Everything went. And he came out every 20 minutes and explained what was going on, and that it was going to be 20 minutes, another 20 minutes. Just took 2 hours in the end.
Right.
But everyone, because there was nothing else to do, just went to the bar, and everyone was pissed. And I don't know, and everyone was doubled over because it was a standing gig. Even the balconies, there was 2 balconies, and they were both all standing as well. Yeah, it was a nightmare. But his voice was amazing, and the show was fantastic.
So what did you get, like an hour and a half out of it?
About an hour and a half instead of the 2 hours 20 that he had been doing it. But yeah, the highlight was Plague of Ghosts. I think he said that himself. The Forgotten Song. And yeah, I just thought it was amazing. Amazing. And his voice really stood up. I was one of the doubters. You know, I didn't think he'd be able to get through it, but he did, and he sounded amazing. Maybe it was the vocal training he did. He had a voice coach or something, didn't he? So.
We saw him a couple of weeks earlier, Craig, didn't we, in Utrecht on the second.
It was the second night, yeah. Unfortunately, we got the Highwood suite rather than Plague of Ghosts, but that'll be remedied when he get to see him in the UK.
But again, like Mark, the voice was strong, wasn't it?
Really strong, really good.
And I think Liz really pushes him as well when they're doing Just Good Friends. He really begs him on, and he fights.
The 2 of them together, just incredible.
Amazing, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, really looking forward to the shows in the UK. Those of you that are listening in Europe and have seen him for the last time, I'm sure you had a great night. I haven't really heard anything negative about the tour, aside from the one gig that was lost.
The thing is, you can't do anything about that.
No,
you know, it's the singer's curse. Everybody else can play with a heavy cold, or if they're down with a bit of allergy or a viral infection, a musician can kind of get through it. But the thing is, if you're singing in it, it just gets into the back of your throat. You're done. There's nothing you can do. But he did the right thing. I think he made the right call. He recognised it, and because if he'd have tried to power through it, he could have ended up losing quite a lot of shows. Then
he said that's exactly
done a lot more damage.
Yeah.
It's exactly what he said on Fish on Friday. If he hadn't pulled that one there, it would have been a domino effect for the next couple of dates. So he definitely made.
Yeah, he'd have been fighting through the rest of the dates after that, because you're never really properly giving yourself a chance to recover it, and you don't. If you don't rest your voice at all, he'd have been fighting to get through the rest of the dates. So he did the right thing, and I'm sure it probably pained him to have to, to do it as well.
Just going back slightly, John, staying in September for a minute. SRB done the Barcelona weekend at Razzmatazz.
Oh yeah,
on the 27th, 28th of September.
I was there, and
you were.
You were there as well.
My gig of the year. The best Incubus, the best Last Straw I've heard since the 1980s.
Yeah.
Wow, that's high praise. Thank you very much.
I was there with my friends Gordon and Caroline Graham from Aberdeen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know Gordon and Caroline very well.
I only got away with them. We were in Stockholm last November, was it, as well?
Yeah.
But yeah, Barcelona, the crowd were incredible.
Well, it was great.
Those shows were they were really well attended as well. Big crowds.
Big crowds.
For the 2 of them, and it was a great weekend from start to finish. Just although we did have problems travelling out. Well, the flight out was our flight was delayed significantly, which meant we didn't actually get.
Yeah, I remember now. So was ours? Was it winds or something? Was it, or what was it?
It was a combination. Well, it was a whole combination of things. We just got one reason after another, but we eventually got to the hotel. I think around about midnight.
Yeah,
would that be about right? Yeah. Thankfully, Mr. Barton was there and welcomed us with not only open arms but with cold beers, which were
very. I had
a
case of beer ready, but you were so delayed. There was only 4 left by the time you.
You had to drink most of them yourself. But we're all about. I think it's fair to say we were all a bit wired and a bit frazzled when we got there, but everybody handled it with good humour. And once we got a decent night's sleep past us, everybody was ready to go.
Brilliant. Okay. in October, Marillion announced that they are headlining the Friday night of California Festival in Lou in 2025. I think they were the first announcement of the festival, weren't they, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's been organised by Jonathan from Haunt the Woods. So
the whole thing?
It's what?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a festival being run by local people. Marillion are headlining that day, and Embrace have just been announced as the under them, which is, they're a big band, Embrace, as well.
Right.
Yeah, they're just on tour at the minute as well.
Yeah.
Whole weekend lineup's been announced now.
Yes. Yeah.
But the Friday has got Haunt the Woods, Pure Reason Revolution, and Marillion all on the same night.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Good lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Who knew you wanted to go to Cornwall in September on a beach for a festival?
It's quicker to get to Holland, though, from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me too.
No, the jury's still out, although it has absolutely put paid to a holiday me and Lucy have got planned, so we've had to shift it to June.
Oh no.
Yeah. You'll need a holiday, won't you, really, after all
Mm.
that? In October, Marillion announced and put on sale The Remains of the Weekend, the Blu-ray
Really
and
good.
two CD sets. We've talked about these recently, but Craig, talk about these again, will you?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. I mean, they're some of your favorite sets, though, aren't they? It's one of your favorite Blu-rays. I mean, I think I've watched it about 5 times now, which I don't tend to watch the Blu-rays and stuff that often. I watch them like once or twice, and then they get forgotten about. So the release with the SPQR and The Remains of the Weekend, I've watched these 2 Blu-rays more than I've watched a lot of the other ones put together already, and I've only had them for like next to no time. But no, absolutely worth buying, worth getting. Definitely go for it.
And it's nice to have them, to not have to wait till the next convention to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And credit, kudos to Mr. Kennedy. I like the artwork on them as well.
Yeah, the artwork's great, really striking, apart from what you said.
Yeah, well, what, E.T.?
It's not, but yeah.
I wish they were in a black box rather than a blue Blu-ray box, but that's just me bitching.
What, so it matched the other one? That's how you can tell them apart. Got
Yeah.
the bracket team, they need to differentiate between them.
So
Okay.
demanding, Craig. So demanding.
Oh, I am. I'm a right pain in the arse.
Such an eye for detail. Such an eye for detail. Mark, you got any views on these?
Yeah, they're great. Great. Yeah, love it. I wasn't there, so how do you guys think it does it bring back memories of?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it really captures the. We talked about this quite a bit. We talked about it with Tim as well. I think the fact that they've left some of the
Bloopers.
well, not even bloopers. They're sort of where H goes wandering and there's feedback, or the track where Ian needs a drum replacing. It's all left
all
in.
stayed in. Yeah.
So it's a proper record of the gig rather than it being airbrushed over so that everything looks and sounds amazing. You get the real feel of what happened on the night.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd shots as well, there's a real mix of sort of shots of lots of people and then focusing in on a tight shot of 2 or 3 faces.
Yeah.
Well, there is
if only Craig had smiled.
No,
that would need stick. Come on.
That would need CGI. I've seen Craig enjoying a gig. He looks exactly like that. That's all he inside, he's loving it, but his face, nothing at all. I mean, we talked about it in the episode. It's sad to see James and Norbert on there.
Yeah.
But
some
ways it's sad, and in other ways it's a testament that they were, Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, nice that they were both captured on there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think this and Hour Before Dark Flag in Port Zealand are my two favourite Marillion.
Yeah.
More than All One Tonight, and that was an incredible night.
Great.
Usually by the time it gets to Sunday night, I'm just so exhausted and overwrought and over emotional that the Sunday gig can be quite an out of body experience for me. But they played such an amazing set and it looked so beautiful. I mean, Ian's just absolutely did his thing that night and it just looked so incredible. That quite often, sometimes I have to watch the Sunday night to remind myself of what it was, whereas this time it was much different because you're watching it knowing what you're going through. Whereas quite often when I watch the Sunday night gigs, it's almost like, I know I loved it when I was there. I was so tired, I don't have that much memory of it. But actually this time I was really kind of like keen to see it again because it was such a lovely night. And I know there was some consternation about it being a slightly slower set and stuff, but because of that, they played some of my favourite songs.
Yeah. It might have been a set list that you would never have picked yourself, but it's a great collection of songs to play.
Exactly that.
I think we said it in the pod that it's not a set list you could take out on tour.
No, not
but
at all.
it's a convention set list with the rarities in it. That's what you want.
But that's the beauty. Sorry, John. That's the beauty of the conventions. Is the whole point is that you'll get set lists that you would never get on a regular tour. That's what makes them different and special and unique. To me that's a big part of the draw.
Definitely. And a lot of people have sent messages saying they've asked for this for Christmas, so by now you should have it and have seen it. So please tell us what you think of it. Okay, but brilliant release, and stacked into the back.
I love them coming out at this point because this is the point at which I start getting excited about Port Zealand again and doing lots of conversations with the team and all those sorts of things. You start getting really excited. At that point, you then get this amazing memory of the previous one. It just like heightens everything. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a different situation to people like Stephanie and Lucy and Mark, who are kind of like who are drowning in organisation and all of that stuff. I'm still in the fandom where I'm just like living my best life.
Yeah.
So being at the point where we're organising the next one and getting this amazing memory of the last one just is brilliant for me. It's perfect timing.
No, it's great, and it really sort of ramps up the anticipation for next year, doesn't it? What else have we got? In October, H was over at Progstock in America, but just doing a Q&A, I think.
Yep. So I think he's booked to go back next year to play, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He seems to have a great time there from listening to him on the Corona Diaries.
We actually missed the H show in Porto further back.
When was that?
He went out to Porto and done a show in I'm trying to remember. It was July, I think.
Okay.
It was the same weekend as Lorelei.
Well, I mean, it's worth.
It was. That's right. So it was.
Yeah.
Martin's not talked about, but Martin's had a busy year with both the SRB and then when the SRB haven't been playing, Still Marillion have been playing gigs as well. So we've asked some of the other tribute bands. I just want to take a break at this point and just ask Martin from a Still Marillion point of view, how was 2024 for you guys?
2024 for us was great. For me, on a personal level, 2024 I think was probably the busiest year I think I've ever had, gigging across all the different things. And I should actually give a shout out to the Still Marillion guys because their activity or our activity was curtailed because of the fact that I had quite a lot of SRB stuff going on, and the same in the Made in Scotland guys as well. And I have to say they're immensely supportive because they appreciate the fact that I can't be in two places at the one time. But for Still Marillion, some of the gigs that we played this year are some of my favourite gigs. And it's not just because they're recent. There's some real stand it. And you might laugh when I mention some of these places that I'm going to say off the top of my head. We played in Stoke, at a great venue called 11 in Stoke. And it was packed. The crowd was huge, and it was just a brilliant atmosphere. You remember that one well, Mike? You know, the Stoke gig was an absolute.
And I'd say
corker.
95% of the audience weren't regulars.
Yeah,
Our friend
a lot
Gaz
of people came to see us for the first time.
Gaz Evans was there, and he said it was an amazing night.
It really was, you know, and you know, you no disrespect to the good people of Stoke, but you know, it's maybe not one that would immediately you would say, oh yeah, Stoke was a real standard. But I mean, I could pick a number of gigs this year, and we're very fortunate because our gigs are really well supported and attended, and as I always say it, but we never take it for granted. The fact that people, you know, and some people travel big distances to come and see us, you know, yourselves included. And it's an amazing thing. And I think the nicest thing that people say about our gigs is the fact that it's a celebration of the music. It's not, you know, we're not standing up there pretending to be Marillion, you know, because that would be utterly ridiculous. But what, you know, whilst we're serious about the music and performing it to the best standard we can, there's a big emphasis on the fact that it's a rock gig as well, and we always try and make sure that comes across. And you know, anybody that's seen us know that we pretty much constantly just poke fun at each other during our gigs as well. And I think that translates, because I always say, I think if people see the band having a good time, I think it bleeds into your enjoyment of it as well. If I go and see a band and they look like they're having a ball up there, I think that heightens your own enjoyment of it. So the nicest thing that people say is it's always a kind of party kind of atmosphere at the gigs. But it's been a great year for us. We've got, you know, plans for next year.
That was my other question: is what does 2025 hold?
Well, it's a fairly obvious
an anniversary.
For a particular anniversary of an album that a few people bought.
It's a Afraid of Sunlight's 30th anniversary. So
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Craig. That's the one.
I would like to be there, but I don't know.
All right. To avoid anybody turning up at your gigs expecting Afraid of Sunlight.
Say that, you know, you're making a run from going back. I appreciate the other tribute acts out there as well. I'll probably be focusing on Misplaced as well, but you know, it would be rude not to play the album in its entirety. It's as good an excuse as any, and we're kind of currently debating what else we're going to do next year to try and keep it interesting, keep it fun, not only for us but also for the people that come and see us. So you know, there are plans. The wheels are always turning, but
lots to look forward to. Regular gigs booked in.
Yeah, the same start to the year as always. We'll start off at the end of January, beginning of February in Derby and Swindon, which we've done for many, many years. The calendar for the first part of the year is not as full as it would normally be, and there's a very obvious reason for that, because there's a lot of Marillion and Fish activity. Well, there's Marillion activity across the year, but a lot of it's focused in the first half of the year. So, I mean, you know, we're not stupid. There's not much point in us booking loads of gigs when Fish is playing this tour in the UK. That's that's probably not going to end well for us. So, you know, you be respectful of that, and you know, we've got stuff in the first half of the year, but I think there'll be Mark's working feverishly for the kind of latter part of the year to get some. So we probably will miss some of maybe the regular haunts this year, just because it'll be slightly scaled back in terms of the number of shows, because there's a lot going on in the sort of Marillion and Fish world. So, but you know, we'll make sure that they all count.
You know, it's always a great night, but you know, I'm so glad that you've had a good 2024, and I'm sure you'll go on to bigger and better things, even more.
Thank you.
2025.
I should also say as well, thank you to you guys as well for supporting us as well on the podcast. That's greatly appreciated.
Mate, you're always welcome on here. We've talked about going to see you guys. It's always a good night. Great music. Like you say, you don't take yourself too seriously. There's really good vibes coming off the stage. Mike's usually ripped us off for a few quid on the merch as well.
I'm not taking any responsibility for Mike Barton's actions.
No. Strong arm tactics, I think, yeah. It's good to see you, and it's a great night. And if you've never seen Still Marillion before,
Oh, you've got to go.
if you live in the UK or even in Europe, please go and see him. You'll absolutely love it. I guarantee.
And kudos to Martin. He's done 35 gigs between Still Marillion and SRB, plus then Made in Scotland. So you're 40 plus gigs this year, Martin.
Yeah, it's definitely I think it's been the busiest year.
Yeah,
in terms of gigs, and I didn't miss any. And I didn't.
Didn't drop a solitary gig.
I've not dropped one. I've not dropped a gig yet. My reputation is still intact. I've probably played gigs that I shouldn't have done, but yeah, I've not cancelled one yet. So
no, even Carlisle, you were still on stage.
let's let that Carlisle memory disappear, can we?
Can't finish it like that, Mike. Come on. Let's pick back up.
We've done that one in last year's review. Yeah. Go back and listen. There's a really good podcast of last year's review.
Let's go back to the timeline then. In November, Marillion released This Strange Engine Deluxe.
So, Mark, what did you do on this one then? Because you're part of the team who collates and gets involved with the band in getting these all together.
Yeah, we found a documentary in Canada that wasn't used. That was the first thing we found. It was just too expensive.
Are there not sections of it in the documentary, though?
I don't think so, no.
I think it's a different
different documentary, yeah. Some live recordings and some of the video from Hank. Hank gave some of the video as well, so the live video. So that was it, really.
Because it's great to actually have the bootleg of the Tivoli gig on, just as an extra, and it's and I really like the remix on this.
Yeah,
I love the sound of it. Brilliant.
Yeah, again, it was one that I like the original mix a lot as well. So, but it's different enough to be interesting. That's always the key.
Yeah.
And they're still going to die on the hill that the Hope for the Future is my favourite version on the remix. I think it's great.
I can remember on the tour we all took Jif Lemon things with rice in, so we could have our little shakers for Hope for the Future.
Now, George, you mentioned the thing to me about Lucy giving you an advance copy of TSE.
Yeah, she did. We went. My dad insisted we'd had a grave loss in the family, and so my dad insisted that we all went on a family holiday together to Cornwall. And my brother had got a 3-month-old and a 2-year-old or something. And I knew that it was just going to be hell, because obviously we got to Cornwall and it absolutely pissed it down the entire time. Mom and Dad just want to bugger off and look at old chairs in stately homes. And my brother was just like, I've got these children, would you like them? And I'd got an advanced copy of the album that I just spent the entire time I was there on a sunbed. The hotel had a because the hotel had like a pool and a spa and stuff, but it had a sunbed, because it was the 1990s or whatever it was, the early 2000s. And I just spent the whole time going down to this sunbed every day, locking the door and lying there pretending that I was like away from everybody in Spain rather than in rainy, and putting my headphones on my little Walkman and listening to This Strange Engine. So I had this very concentrated experience of it coming out. And I haven't done that since up until Fear, where I was working in Germany when Lucy sent me the advanced copy of Fear, and had that in my hotel room the whole time, and absolutely just immersed myself in it. But yeah, with This Strange Engine, I just remember lying there listening to like different songs, and just the thing about This Strange Engine is, love it or hate it as an album, the variety of music on there is really spectacular. It's like they go from one extreme to the other with, quite short songs, quite sparse, naked songs, right, into, This Strange Engine, which is an absolute epic and wasn't really kind of, I don't think anything stood up to it until Ocean Cloud, really. But just it's quite an amazing album, and for me, I was just hiding from my entire family, like with headphones on, just like, no, I'd love to, look after your children, or play tennis with you in the rain or whatever. But actually, I've got this I'm doing. But it was for me, it's got some really great memories because it was a hugely emotional time for me, but also just some of that album is quite hard, I think, to get into. And I remember not really liking This Strange Engine until I heard it played live in Port Zealand.
Mhm.
So quite a long time after the
It
album
was like
came.
10 years later or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I always used to joke with Lucy because when you could smoke in venues, Lucy would just be like, "Oh, we can go for a smoke during This Strange Engine," and so I would always go somewhere with her so she could have a fag. And now it's kind of like, no, I want to. I've always got the set list, or I always make sure I'm there for it. So some of them are quite slow burn, but there's some really underrated music on that album.
Yeah,
One of my favourite songs on it is One Fine Day,
One
which I
Fine
think
Day,
is really, really underrated.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Right track.
Remix, George.
Sorry.
You had the remix album.
Yeah.
And what do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think of that?
Well, I am a person who attaches quite a lot of emotion to any piece of art. So it represents the time in my life often. And so when there's a change to it, I find it quite difficult. So the way that I handle that is I see it as something new. So I couldn't tell you for sure whether it's better or worse because I'll always keep the original whole in my heart. But it is a beautifully balanced, and there's sometimes I think Marillion albums can, especially with EMI, there was a tendency, and they did this with Fish as well, actually, with Vigil, to overproduce it. And actually the level of emotion can take a bit of rawness. And that's one of the things I think that Mike Hunter's quite good at, is quite good at overproducing when he needs to, and then really scaling back and showing us the rawness of things. That I think EMI just somehow weren't sophisticated enough to always manage. So I think there are some parts of the songs on This Strange Engine that really benefit from being produced by a better producer.
Yeah. But the entire package, as we've said, is just fantastic.
Oh, they're beautiful. I mean, what bands? I mean, I know bands are putting out, 500 quid gold plated. I bought one of the Pink Floyd boxes for Alan, and that's sell a kidney to get one. But what band is putting out something of that quality at that cost?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really good point as well. Is like these are beautiful, and they're really competitively priced compared to the rest of the, what other bands are charging for these kind of immersive sets or reimaginings or whatever you want to call them.
They sell out. And what that says is you could put them at a higher price point if you wanted to, but they don't.
Yeah.
No, it's a great release.
It is. The package is lovely.
John, you're doing spoilers because our 2-part episode on This Strange Engine is to follow. First part is next week, our first episode of the new year.
Apologies.
Sorry.
And in typical timey-wimey thing, we already recorded.
I knew he'd say it. I was catchphrases, timey-wimey, and there you go. He's got it in again.
Yeah, I've got it in. We've already recorded those 2 episodes, and they're going out first 2 weeks in January.
I shall look forward to listening to those very much.
What else came out? November, H announced SPQR would be released. And I think, did it get released in December, Mike?
It did, yeah. Started getting shipped out from Racket first. And then it's obviously I've got it on tour, and then it's now available from this week from Ronnie Strand's websites as well.
Is it? Yeah, brilliant. Planet Marzipan met Mark Kelly in December.
We met Mark Kelly the end of October, but it came out in December. Again, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Yeah. But again, Mark was lovely with us. The guy was on the chat as well.
I really enjoyed that episode. I don't know whether it's because I spend less time with Mark probably than any of the bands. So it's really nice to hear that alternate perspective. I really enjoyed that episode.
And it was funny because the day that it went out, we got a message from Lucy going, "Can we have the for Marillion monthly, please? You did video it, didn't you?" It's like, yeah, of course you can have it.
I've never spoken to Mark in any great detail until then, and he was lovely. He was really chatty. We could ask him, pretty similar to Steve Rothery. We could ask him anything, and he didn't shy away from anything. There's very little cut out of that conversation. But it was great. It was great to chat with him. Fish was back into action. So in December, he closed the Fish Music EU shop. I don't think we need to say much more about that. There was also fraudulent websites selling fish stuff at the same time, which he had shut down.
Popped up, yeah. Why do people do? Well, it's just money, isn't it? Yeah. Why do people do it?
Or did anybody see that insane jacket that came up on?
Today, yeah.
The
white and red thing with the pictures. Oh, yeah.
And the shoes. There's a pair of trainers as well, the same.
I posted it to Lucy's own group, like literally with own goal. And honestly, the ugliest ass jacket I think I've ever seen.
Well, we both bought one, George, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm the completest, right?
Well, I suppose we should touch on this, although we only spoke about it in an episode a couple of weeks ago, but the Steve Hogarth SPQR Blu-ray and live album we alluded to in the first episode of this. Craig, any more you want to say about this?
You've got to buy it. It's brilliant, and you'll love it. I mean, especially once you get. I mean, the H natural bit at the start with just him voicing piano, nice enough. But once Ran Astray and start in the second part of it, and then the third part, you get the choir in. The set list absolutely amazing. The production on it absolutely fantastic. The recording's great. Blu-ray's great. The audio's great. You're daft if you don't dip your fingers in and buy it, because it's worth it. Well worth it.
You want a job?
I speak as
Mike. You're daft if you don't dip your fingers in.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's a t-shirt there for you.
Mike, I'm having that put on a cushion.
As we're chatting now, as we're recording, there's just the 2 Oxford date shows left, isn't there?
Yeah, so this weekend with Oxford on Friday and Saturday, and then there's the Webb Holland hosted show the first weekend of January.
So as this goes out, that's this coming weekend.
Yeah.
How have the 8 shows been?
Fantastic. Oh, I mean, it wouldn't be Christmas without Hates Natural in Liverpool and Oxford for starters. He's just, he's done a 3-night residency at we can call it a residency because no one's done 3 nights on the bouncer, Trading Boundaries. And Martin knows Trading Boundaries is a great venue to play. It's
unique.
250 people sat having a 3-course candlelit meal, which on paper doesn't sound like it's ever going to work, but it just works perfect. Michael and Tracy that run the place, they've just got a unique. It's just brilliant. If you've never been. Those who've been know what it's like. If you've never been to a gig there, because it's a really cool experience in the middle of nowhere.
It's genuinely unique. It's unlike any other gig.
Yeah.
You're right. On paper it shouldn't work, but it's It's a great
So,
place
I mean,
to play.
H just done 3 nights there in a couple of weeks ago in November. No, in December. It starts in the middle of December. Went down really well, full capacity. I mean, on one of the nights, he just kept going. We didn't think he was coming off, a bit like the first night at Liverpool. But he done 3 completely different sets without having a set list. Went down a storm. Always gives us time at the end of every show and comes to the merch and signs every. If there's 200 people in the queue. I mean, at Bochum in Germany, which was the Web Germany hosted gig, which was the 3rd night after Liverpool. It was 650 people, and I think 625 stayed for the signing session. And he stayed to the end and spoke to everyone and signed everything. And he gives us time, and he's drained at that point. So, credit to him.
Brilliant. Well, long may they continue the H Natural Christmas shows. There's only one thing left to talk about for 2024, and that's the Web Christmas CD, which is called What a Wonderful Time of Year. It's
A wonderful time of year.
Recorded in 2017 for WDR Radio in Germany. We talked about this in an episode a couple of weeks ago, but it's a fantastic recording, and it's even got El Dorado on it, and I still like it.
You're coming round to it, John, aren't you?
Slowly, yeah. But
Do
now
the remasters of these in 10 years' time. He'll be a big fan.
Getting ingrained in.
I'll just be sat in the corner talking to myself, though. About
I tell you what, you need to get that. Have that play. Not to draw morbid, but that needs to be played as one of your last songs, El Dorado, because you'll love it by then.
You think?
He's waiting for the box set, the immersive box set. Come out for it.
Well, just of El Dorado.
Just of El Dorado.
Craig,
Be
have
like
you heard this disc
the
now?
box set.
I still haven't listened to it. I've not time yet because I've been playing SPQR on repeat.
All right. That's really good. It's a really good recording, and I think, as we said on the 10 quid for the web
I know.
membership for 2 glossy magazines and a CD or a DVD.
I thought this edition of the web magazine was meatier. And it's not just because, Planet Marzipan's got 475 page episodes.
Seven pages. It was like 8 pages too many.
But the quality of the web magazines are great. And the fact that we get a free CD or DVD every year. Again, there's not many bands doing that stuff.
Yeah, that's totally on the nail on the head.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
It's a tough year when Marillion haven't done anything live or together as a group for a fan club magazine to be able to be as engaging and high quality as it is, and the creativity that team have to be able to keep it interesting is amazing. And just imagine how much time and effort goes into that we're getting it for a tenner.
Yeah.
It's just
they find a different angle to what's already out there. The article with H's Misses is great, and the one about the conventions with Lucy and Stephanie is brilliant. It's really interesting stuff that you've not read anywhere else.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think they do really well. And I remember back in the day when Simon and Vicky were editing it, that as the internet became much more prevalent, and people like Mark and Fish were on the freaks list and stuff, you're then going, well, what are we as the Web UK offering to fans that they can't get themselves and self-serve themselves? And they still do a really good job of delivering a curated set of information and fun that you're not finding on the internet. And actually what I've found is a couple of times when you guys have been talking and you've said, I read somewhere blah blah blah. I thought, oh yeah, that was in that interview that I did when you were talking about El Dorado. He said, oh, I read somewhere, blah blah. And I thought, oh yeah, that was an interview I did with Steve Hogarth about this. And it's, so people get information from that and then use that as the truth gauge for everything else they hear. So I think they're doing.
Yeah, they do. So I think the other thing as well is I might be wrong, but I'm not aware of another band that's still putting out a fan club magazine or a fanzine, like a physical fanzine. I imagine that for most bands that's long.
So not still a Maiden magazine. I thought there was.
You know what, John? For the IMOC there might still be. Yeah, I think they might produce
the latest one that's arrived, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But there's not many.
But there's not many bands doing it.
Oh no.
Yeah, there must be a handful that are actually still producing a physical printed, magazine thing. Again, it's exclusive content and stuff that's not anywhere else. So more power to their elbow. It's a real labour of love.
We're looking at
the quality of it though, just the postage and the packaging. You're talking a couple of quid just for postage and packaging of it. It's a bargain. It really is. And we're not here to try and sell it. But if you're not a member of the web, whatever country you're in, go and join it.
Yeah. I mean, we love having the web guys on. We will get through all of them at some point, and it's good to support them. Good to just keep the flame burning and get people's interest in it. Because there's room for everybody.
And they do so much. I mean, at Port Zealand, Fraser Marshall sort of basically just is ping-ponging from pillar to post, supporting whatever thing we forgot to staff. And that's why he's there and what his job is, but he just does it with such grace and good humour. And and I'm not always in the highest of grace and good humour because I'm often quite stressed and tired at Port Zealand. And Fraser is always, when he comes and knows that he's got to say something to me that I'm not going to like, he does it with a gentleness that means that it's impossible ever. You always leave a conversation with him feeling better than you started it. And, he's just there ping-ponging from stuff we haven't thought about to the other stuff we haven't thought about, or stuff we just haven't thought about the fact that we're going to need someone for. So it's not just the magazine and the stuffing of the envelopes and the getting them out to us all, but it's also all the other little things like, Sheila doing the charity stall and, all of that other stuff that they do that's part of what Marillion is about. This kind of kindness collective is really important.
But poor Fraser this year, he's in with us, isn't he? The chalets for the first time, bless him.
Yeah.
All right. So if I don't leave every interaction feeling better than I started it, then it's your fault.
You just blame us. We're not bad influences on us, we're not.
John's having none of that.
I don't know what to say. Just blame.
Right. I would never say that because you're my little cuddle crew. So
booked in again. Well, 2024. It wasn't a convention year, but quite a lot went on. We managed to fill 2 hours talking about it. And 2025 is a convention year, so we should this time next year have lots more to talk about. I don't think really, if I was a betting man, we will have a new album from Marillion.
Oh, God, no.
I'm not putting my greenbacks on it.
No. Yeah, it's been great chatting through the year with you guys. I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to it.
Been a pleasure.
We all collectively wish you a very happy 2025. Thanks for listening to the pod across the year. We've had some amazing figures from our Spotify Wrapped. People listening in 34 countries to this. It's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Brilliant.
That's just right.
Yeah, it's just
brilliant.
And thanks for your interaction on the Facebook group. Thanks for telling me I'm wrong, because a lot of you have done that.
That's not just me doing that either.
Oh, no, a lot of you have done that. It's fine. But as we've always said when we set off on this journey, everybody's opinion is valid. We love the interactions we get. We'll invite different people onto the podcast next year. We'll invite these guys back as well if they want to come back.
Definitely.
Yeah. But thank you for
Anytime.
listening. Have a great 2025. And thank you very much, Martin.
My pleasure, guys. Happy New Year to everybody out there, and more power to Planet Marzipan. I'll be listening with great intent, and keep doing what you're doing, because it's brilliant. I love the content.
Thanks, Martin. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys. You're doing an amazing job. Absolutely love what you're doing. Happy New Year to everybody.
Brilliant. And more power to Marco's Marillion Museum as well.
100%, yeah.
No.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Come and see me at the merch desk in the Adventure Factory at Fort Zealand. And I'll sell you joy that you never knew you needed. And I'll just echo what everyone else has said. I bloody love the Planet Marzipan, and I'm not a load of weird podcast stuff. It's not really me or my vibe, but I love this. I think you've created something really special.
Oh, thanks, George. That's lovely. Thank
Cheers
you.
for that.
And thank you, Mr. Barton.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being on so many episodes this year. I hope that hasn't been a downer for people. Again, like everyone else, I love listening. I do get a lot of benefit out of it. There's a lot of interesting stuff. And just finally, if you haven't bought a bloody t-shirt or mug, get onto Planet Marzipan and buy one as soon as possible. For Happy New Year to all your listeners.
Okay.
Cheers, mate.
I just want to thank Craig as well for putting up with me on this. Craig does a lot of the legwork with the editing, but the rest of it. And we want to thank Chris as well. Chris, who does our
artwork.
He does a brilliant job. He has a full-time job, and he still does these graphics for us. So thank you very much. Although we've had a guest appearance from Mr. Kennedy recently doing one of our graphics, but Chris is our main graphics guy. So thank you, Chris, and a happy new year to you. But thank you, Craig, for putting up with my gobshiteness on here.
Hey, come on! You know when I keep bullying you into so much stuff.
Yeah. Oh, let's be honest. All of this is your fault.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not, and I'm not either. Thanks for.
I love you loads as well, and all you guys. It's great. I mean, the beauty of this pod is the fact that we get so many people on who we really like and really love, and we can just have a great crack on, and we don't take it all too seriously, and we love what we do, and we love the feedback that we get from folk, and I would say it keeps us out of mischief, but it gets us into all different kinds of trouble.
Yeah, don't change that.
On that note, it just remains to say it's good night from me.
And a happy new year from me.
Take care.
Go on, Mike. You know you want to do it.
Oh, stay alive. Oh.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com, and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot for all the good stuff.